Welcome to Present Poetry, a podcast where we sit back, relax, and enjoy some poets of the past and present. I'm your host, Erin Crittenden, and before we get started on this week's episode, I want to remind you that all of the material used in this podcast is either public domain or used with permission from the author or the author's estate. It's a fun time for all ages, so sit back, relax, and get ready to hear this week's featured poet. This week's featured poet is Faiza Anum. Faiza Anum is a poet and occasional translator from Lahore, Pakistan. Her work has appeared in RAFT magazine, The Pinch Journal, Transnational Literature, Stoneboat Literary Journal, the Stonecoast Review, Essential Voices, a COVID-19 anthology, the Ghazal page, Eastern Structures, and elsewhere. Her poem, Traveling Tales, was a finalist for Open Road Review Poetry Prize in 2015. We are reading some of her poems that she submitted to us through the form at presentpoetry.com. This poem is a ghazal titled My Heart. Do not open for visits, let it stay hushed like my heart. The mausoleum of your memory crushed my heart. Look how the trees submitted to the calls of the wind. My portion of grief and regret is yet shushed to my heart. How I discovered a geography to map stories we never lived. My face was the last metaphor in his eyes, gushed my heart. In search of epiphanies, I light clay lamps in the charcoal nights. Unable to reach your hands, my tears falling on tar, rushed my heart. With every rain, my eyes change colors like the sky. Purple, purple is the angst, and red blushed my heart. Moist, the desire of reunion blooms out of my skin pores. This spring is sterile, no leaves, no love, and bushed my heart. This poem is called Remains. The trailing tail of my gown wiping behind, in a rapt rhythm, dust discos no more on the tracks you have disowned, and I am sprinkling them with oblivion, not with the rain of my ruination. The dust settles for a while, on seeing my curls composing. A wind wails and summons a whole hell of shards and snicks of glass, that you exploded once, and I was being dragged through remains. My eyes seeing through glued lashes, my lips licking on coarse cuts. My gown is not mine, it is yours, it concealed you. This poem is called An Early Elegy for Lahore. Like archangels, eagles hover over the city, surveil its wrongdoings. Oblivious to the daytime melodrama, its humdrum, a homeless child slumbers. Huddling hard, a hemi-plastered tree on his footpath, battered with godly grief, overwashed with rains, reviewing faith. I end up stitching the tree's skin, my fingertips bleeding. This poem is called In Between Languagescapes. Poems like kites plummet, while the cacophony of the choice foreign language lives on between old juvenile Urdu and Punjabi verses, scribbled on pungent pages, kissing each other for a home. One day, out of contagious curiosity, I transplanted the tulips in my garden on my grandfather's grave, only to witness them wither and wash away in monsoons. 2 nights later, I dreamt of a child, with a raw reed pen in his hand, scribbling, "My name is Pakistan," on his clay-caked wooden tablet, trembling. In a distant village, a pedagogue in a local class of English language Choose on translations of matured wheat crops crackling outside. The wind plays with foreign phonemes. This poem is called Poems on the Sky. Trees are poems on the sky, and their branches are like brushes, kissing eternity with their arid and cranky lips, carry unruly rhymes and open-ended rhythms. But one night, a termite ate them all, biting big bites of the premature pages, left to bleed murky ink. A private genocide of infinite poems, unversed, unmourned. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Present Poetry Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, feel free to like us, leave a review, or share us on social media. If you are a poet or you know someone who is, we would love to hear from you. You can reach out to us or submit your work through our website, which is www.present-poetry.com. Again, that is www.present-poetry.com. We can't wait to hear from you.